Bombshell tonight, D4vd, David Anthony Burke, has somehow managed to become a jail VIP, getting hot meals including turkey, cranberry sauce, dressing, dinner rolls. What? This after we discover his bizarre one-word post following Celeste's murder. That one word? Decay. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
We've seen a lot of morbid pictures inside the courtroom.
Gruesome court images reveal the body of teen girl Celeste Rivas.
I thought that other people definitely known about this and held this secret. He did not ask what happened because he did not want to know.
Excuse me, quick question. Oh, what are you up to? You call me my work clothes, bro. You know, I just got the tie. I'm trying to clean up a little bit. You think Tyler's gonna get all that out? I hope so. What's your name? David. How are you feeling today? It's raining outside. I think I got a cold. I'm kind of sick. What song do you put on when you're in bed and feeling sick? Romantic Homicide. How does that one go? I'm scared. It feels like you don't care. Yeah. Little rainy song. Appreciate you, bro.
That from our friend Nicholas Newvon at TikTok. Let's just see that one more time. Is that actually D4vd, David Anthony Burke, in the grocery wearing a seemingly bloody shirt talking about romantic homicide? Because I want to see that one more time.
Excuse me, quick question. Oh, what are you up to? You call me my work clothes, bro. You know, I just got the tie. I'm trying to clean up a little bit. You think Tyler's gonna get all that out? I hope so. What's your name? David. How are you feeling today? It's raining outside. I think I got a cold. I'm kind of sick. What song do you put on when you're in bed and feeling sick? Romantic Homicide. How does that one go? I'm scared. It feels like you don't care. Yeah. Little rainy song. Appreciate you, bro.
To all you David Anthony Burke fans, I really think even I could do a better job. And that's from Nicholas Newvon on TikTok. And while D4vd sets up a video to be released of him singing in a bloody shirt in the grocery aisle, here's the reality of what happened to Celeste.
One word. That's all he posted after she died. Decay. Not a tribute. Not her name. One word. Typed out into the void like a confession nobody was supposed to notice. And here's the thing though. People did notice. They always do. You already know who I'm talking about. D4vd. David Anthony Burke. The kid with the platinum record and the sold-out shows. The one who spent the days after Celeste Rivas's body was found in the trunk of his Tesla filming himself in a grocery store aisle, joking around in what a bystander's video shows as a stained shirt, humming a line from his own song. Romantic Homicide. He wrote that title before any of this happened, before her name became a hashtag. Before her family had to sit in a courtroom and look at photographs no parent should ever have to look at. I need you to stay with me here, because this case has a lot of noise around it. The fame, the mansion in the Hollywood Hills.
Seriously, Annie, thank you for being with us tonight. Annie, could you describe his mansion? This is a far cry from that.
Yeah, this is very different than his mansion in the Hollywood Hills. In his house, it was a 3-story house. He had a beautiful backyard with a pool, a big grand piano, a gym where he could work out anytime he wanted, multiple bedrooms. In the kitchen, it was a massive with a huge island, tons of windows, lots of light, double door refrigerator, every luxury that you could possibly want he had at that house. So now, being stripped down into this jail cell, while you would think that that's great, he still is, to your point, getting certain luxuries.
Let me see here. Annie Elise, correct me if I'm wrong, but did he not have a 5-bed luxury mansion? That's a yes, no.
Yes.
A 5-bedroom. Okay. With a hot tub.
Yes.
And a pool.
Yes.
And a gym, a private gym. Yes.
Yes.
And what is a luxury kitchen? And is that near his grand piano? But what is a luxury kitchen?
The 5 bedrooms, the grand piano, the pool nobody swam in. But underneath all of that noise is a 15-year-old girl who sent a text message that said, "Girly Pop, I'm almost there. Open your door if you're home." That was her last message. Less than an hour later, according to prosecutors, she was gone. Let's build this the right way. Not an accident, not a mystery, a timeline, and it starts years before anyone knew her name. Court filings and reporting say the relationship between Burke and Celeste began when she was 11 years old.
To Joseph Scott Morgan, professor forensic, death investigator. Denial. I am not blaming the parents. I am saying that they knew about this relationship. D4vd, David Anthony Burke, grew up homeschooled in a highly religious family home where all they could hear was classical music and evangelical music. Then he suddenly gets fame and he moves unchaperoned to Hollywood.
11. Still, by multiple accounts, wearing Hello Kitty. He was homeschooled, raised in a strict, deeply religious household, and then fame hit, and he was suddenly living unsupervised in Los Angeles surrounded by people his own age with none of the guardrails that raised him. That doesn't excuse a single thing that happened next. It just tells you how the door got left open. And here's what nobody wants to sit with. Celeste's own parents signed a notarized document
About the recent discovery that little Celeste's family signed a waiver allegedly for her to travel out of the country to London with David Anthony Burke. Why don't they just hand her over on a silver platter?
Nancy, this has been a really shocking time when we find out that, we question, how is it possible for Celeste Rivas at less than 14 years old? How is it possible for her to travel overseas to London? How is it possible for her to get on a plane? Well, apparently, Celeste Rivas' parents signed legal documentation allowing her to travel with David Anthony Burke. This is something that we've wondered. How did it happen? Remember when her passport was found out there in the Santa Barbara woods? And here we go. She actually got approval from her parents. So they knew exactly what was going on and when it was going on, Nancy.
Straight out to Dr. Cheryl Arrett, joining us out of this jurisdiction, California, licensed clinical forensic psychologist specializing in trauma recovery, PTSD, EMDR. She's at askdrcheryl.com. Dr. Cheryl, thank you for being with us tonight. It just wasn't consent. It was a notarized form that they signed in front of a notary, with the seal, to allow their daughter unchaperoned to go to London with D4vd, that guy that dances around in a bloody shirt, him.
I cannot imagine how much those parents must regret having done that. I can't stop thinking about them being in the courtroom and actually viewing the photos of their daughter's body after everything that they cannot unsee, and hearing about how devastated they are. I cannot speak to what they were thinking at the time that they granted this permission, but it is incredibly clear that Celeste was in tremendous danger, and I am sure in retrospect that there are many, many things that these parents must regret.
Regret.
in front of a notary with a seal, giving their underage daughter permission to travel internationally, unaccompanied, with a grown man. Her passport later turned up in the Santa Barbara woods. You don't have to be a detective to feel something twist in your stomach at that detail. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the evidence in this case isn't circumstantial. It's not a feeling. It's numbers, and the numbers are almost impossible to argue with.
First item was a blood stain that was found in the Tesla. It did confirm that it was Celeste's DNA, and she said the statistic is 1 septillion times, most likely, Celeste's. That is a 1 followed by 24 zeros. Remember, there's like 9 billion people in the whole world. So the fact that this number, this stat is so precise, shows that this is Celeste's DNA that was found in the Tesla. Another stain that was collected in the lower trunk was also consistent with Celeste's DNA. Those are the two swabs that were taken from the Tesla that confirmed that her DNA was in there. We've got a red stain that was recovered from the rowing machine. That one also showed that it was Celeste's DNA with a septillion chance. That's a crazy number. We also had a blood stain on the Tesla charger in the garage. Also the same thing. It was a septillion chance that it was Celeste's. The green tarp, same thing, same blood stain and same statistic. Inside the bag, again, I believe this is the same bag that had these hand wipes. Our 8th item is the hand wipes, which did match with Celeste's. It was a partial profile. It looks like it's a 3 trillion chance that it is Celeste's, a 3 followed by 12 zeros. Now, whenever David's team got up and tried to ask Samantha about these, they pretty much wanted her to confirm that DNA can be transferred. And
a bloodstain in the Tesla. Celeste's DNA, prosecutors say, at a statistic of 1 septillion to 1. That's a 1 followed by 24 zeros in a world of roughly 9 billion people. Another stain, the trunk. Same result. The rowing machine, the garage, the charger, a green tarp, hand wipes recovered from the scene, tested, and still carrying her profile at odds of 3 trillion to 1. The defense tried to argue DNA transfer, that it could have landed there some other way. And look, transfer is a real forensic concept. But transfer doesn't explain the same profile showing up on 8 separate items across a house, a car, and the tools used to try to clean it all up. Here's the part that should make your skin crawl. A medical examiner's findings described in reporting show 2 sharp force injuries, one of them reaching the liver.
See, we do know at this point in time that what was released, and that's a whole nother story relative to the ME's office, is we're talking about injuries, and those injuries are in fact 2 sharp force injuries, one of which appears to be consistent with having gone into the liver. And I've commented on this before. I think that people think that if you're stabbed in the abdomen, you're going to die really, really quick. You didn't. You won't, because it is a long, languishing death. It's not just a matter of the fact that she was rendered down with sharp instruments. It's a fact that she had a blade stuck through her ribs into her liver, which she would have slowly bled out from over a protracted period of time. This is not like a gunshot wound to the head. It's a miserable, miserable death.
Not instant, not painless, a slow, drawn-out death, the kind medical experts describe as languishing, not the kind you walk away from in a memory. She didn't die quickly. She bled out. And before that, before any of the science, there was the question of whether it could even be washed away. Reporting describes hand wipes recovered from inside a bag connected to the scene, tested for residue, and coming back consistent with Celeste's profile. Whoever tried to clean this up believed a wipe and 11 air fresheners would be enough.
Over 10,000 death scenes, deaths of all nature, suicide, natural causes, unexplained, and of course, homicide. I appreciate what Sloan was just saying. Everything he said was accurate. Did D4vd actually think that he could grab a wet wipe and clean it all up? Did you hear where the blood is? On the rowing machine, on that blow-up kiddie pool he had to put her body in. According to reports, this is all just alleged, so the blood wouldn't get on his floor, but on his floor, in his Tesla, in the front of his Tesla, in the back of his Tesla, in the front trunk of his Tesla. Oh, I forgot, throwing about 11 air fresheners on her dead, disarticulated body. Really? What happened to Celeste, Joe Scott?
Nancy, you and I have known one another for a long, long time. In that period of time, maybe we've ridden in a car together. I know that we have. Have I ever asked you to get into the trunk of the car?
We did at Jacksonville State University, for Pete's sake.
We did. And I'm not going to ask, why? Why exactly would her DNA be inside of that trunk? Well, we have an answer to that. That's because it appears as though that's where her remains were deposited. I remind everyone, and we need to keep coming back to this because this is about Celeste, deposited after he had rendered her down. with sharp instruments and put her into multiple conveyances. And one of these conveyances, this bag that they're talking about, has got her DNA on it, right? And then you go back to this wipe, all right? Yeah, I think that it's a fool's errand to think that you can get rid of DNA if you've got some kind of sanitary wipe that's out there. You're going to try to, clean your hands with, this sort of thing, and you're not going to transfer your DNA to that. And yeah, I mean, counsel's making a point. They say, well, it can be transferred any number of ways. Yeah, but it's transferred in the sense that this is adjunct to a body that has literally been rendered down and is being stored in the vehicle in which is owned by the accused.
Joe Scott.
Yeah.
Really? Did
Yeah.
you hear the stats on that DNA?
Yes, the numbers are absolutely mind blowing. This drives defense attorneys crazy at this point in time because these numbers are so astronomical. You heard this young man just talking about a second ago, Septillion. Are you kidding me? How do you defeat that? And the only way they can really attack something like this, Nancy, is procedurally. How was it collected?
They weren't. DNA doesn't work like that. Once it's there, on a rowing machine, a charger, the inside of a trunk, it stays, and no amount of scrubbing erases a statistic that precise. That's not a plot twist. That's just how forensic science works, and it's exactly why this case leans so heavily on it. And while that was happening, or in the hours surrounding it, phone records described in court reporting show Burke sending messages asking if she'd arrived yet. Not here yet. Over and over, for the better part of 90 minutes. As if he were building himself an alibi in real time while she was still in the house.
About a bizarre one-word post from David Anthony Burke, a.k.a. D4vd, right after Celeste's murder.
One word, Nancy: decay. All right, I don't know how they're going to utilize all this when at trial, but there's so much evidence, Nancy, within these text messages that D4vd communicated with Celeste and with others, that we're talking 8,000 to 10,000 text messages just between D4vd and Celeste. And they talk about everything. He goes on, I mentioned this before, Nancy, he was setting up his cover story, his alibi, while she was still bleeding out in the house. As soon as she got there, investigators say, as soon as she arrived, he sends a text message. You're not here yet? And he continued that throughout the next hour and a half, sending messages to her like she was not there yet. It's just beyond anything one can imagine.
Hi.
I want to slow down for a second because it's easy to blow past a detail like that. Take a breath with me. A 15-year-old girl sent almost 10,000 text messages to this man over the course of their relationship. In the weeks before she died, those messages changed. She told him she felt discarded. She told him she wanted more out of her life than what they had. She told him 24 hours before she died that she'd give him one more chance. A kid, still figuring out who she was, trying to hold on to something that reporting suggests was already hurting her. That's not a footnote in this case. That's the center of it. So when people ask why this story hits so hard, that's why. Not the mansion, not the music career. A girl who kept reaching out for something better, right up until the night she didn't come home. Here's the detail that still gets me, and I'll admit this one feels personal. Under an alter ego he used online, Burke reportedly sent messages joking about cutting off the arms of another young woman.
And this is according to an interview with the Rolling Stone, and Steve Fisher has talked to the young girl himself, that he sends anime, let's see it, where a young girl's arms are severed.
Nancy, as I mentioned a minute ago, this is a guy who texts and sends out everything like it doesn't matter to him. He's not thinking, but he sends a joke to, well, what he says or is of himself and his alter ego anime character Itami. Okay, and in this fictional alter ego Itami, Burke jokes about cutting off the arms of this girl, who, by the way, in the Rolling Stone interview, she's going by the name Jane to protect her own privacy, but he actually is outing himself through his alter ego, Itami, saying he wants to cut her arms off.
Investigators say the word he used elsewhere for what happened to Celeste's remains was disarticulated, a word that, according to at least one forensic psychologist quoted in coverage of the case, kept slipping out of him in different forms, over and over, like he couldn't stop telling on himself. Artists channel dark impulses into their work all the time. Most of them never act on it. That line is the whole case in miniature. And now, sitting in Men's Central Jail awaiting a decision on whether prosecutors will seek the death penalty.
Wearing Hello Kitty outfits. We have D4vd, David Anthony Burke, is a VIP behind bars, a very important person. Okay, hold on. He's got room service. He doesn't have to eat with general population. They bring him his meals. And we've learned that the LA Food Services has implemented a new hot meal program at Men's Central, carefully designed to meet recommended daily standards for calories, protein, carbohydrates, nutrients, with a team of dietitians and advisors. Called the, quote, most significant improvement in inmate feeding in decades across the country. Wow. Also, here's the menu. Chicken Royale, pasta, cooked spinach, salad. One day, roasted turkey, candied yams, sweet potatoes, green beans, cranberry sauce, salad dressing, dinner roll, pumpkin muffin, my rear end. Why is he getting a pumpkin muffin and chocolate milk? This guy is getting totally babied and coddled. He gets a private escort to the shower, so there's no pick up the soap, please, in the shower. None of that's going on. He's kept away from GP because he might be bullied, while Celeste is dead. Okay, help me out, Dave Mack. Why is he a VIP behind bars?
It comes down to the partial fame that he was achieving, Nancy, as well as that, the accusations against D4vd are beyond the pale. And there are certain aspects of criminal behavior in jail where somebody who targeted or groomed young people, and we're talking 11 years old here, they are looked on worse than regular inmates. So he is being kept away from general population as much to protect himself, from other inmates, as well as the notoriety. Think about it. Somebody taking him out because he's a so-called celebrity might bring something. But you're right when you described him being escorted wherever he goes. He does have a cell to himself. He doesn't have to communicate with anybody. He just gets to be by himself.
Burke has reportedly been kept out of general population, given his own cell, and served hot meals under a new jail nutrition program that includes items like roasted turkey, candied yams, and cranberry sauce. Defense attorneys point out this isn't special treatment invented for him, that the program exists for safety and constitutional reasons that apply to any pretrial defendant.
Boo-hoo, Eric Faddis, defense attorney. He's gone from his mansion in Hollywood Hills to the men's CI, but he's still getting VIP treatment. Faddis is the founder of the law offices of Eric Faddis, former felony prosecutor, current criminal defense and civil attorney at ericfaddislaw.com. Why is he getting kid glove treatment?
Nancy, heaven forbid they're feeding this man while he's in custody. Oh my gosh, he's getting spinach and potatoes. God forbid. I think what we're talking about here is a person who is presumed innocent under the Constitution, for whom there are significant safety concerns. Right or wrong, he has this stigma that is going to attach to him just based on the nature of the charges. So the fact that the facility is protecting him and feeding him doesn't seem so beyond the pale to me.
The Constitution, as written, by our founding fathers as interpreted over the years in court after court after court does provide the Sixth Amendment rights. You're right.
Maybe that's true on paper. It's still a hard thing to watch, knowing what happened to the girl who isn't getting a next meal at all. He has not been convicted. That matters, and it's worth saying plainly, because whatever this evidence looks like right now, a jury still has to weigh it. But plainly said too, the forensic record laid out in this case is about as heavy as physical evidence gets, and the defense's own strategy so far has leaned less on disproving the science and more on keeping certain evidence out of the courtroom entirely. Actually, let me rephrase that, because strategy makes it sound tidy, and none of this has been tidy. What the defense has argued is that some of the most damning material, the alter ego messages, the anime clips sent to another young woman, is prejudicial rather than relevant, art rather than evidence. A judge will decide that, not the internet, and definitely not me. But juries don't hear things in a vacuum either. They hear a girl's last text asking someone to open a door. They hear a one-word post about decay. And somewhere in a courtroom in Los Angeles, 12 people are going to have to decide what all of that adds up to.
Again, what happened with Celeste, Nancy?
To Eric Faddis, you'll have a field day trying to keep that evidence out, and you just may be able to do it, claiming it's irrelevant and prejudicial.
Yeah, very well might be. Look, we have had instances in the past of extreme artists, right? You think about Cannibal Corpse, Insane Clown Posse, Marilyn Manson. These folks certainly push the envelope. They're provocative, but being that way in the artistic realm is not a crime. And furthermore, it is probably not relevant evidence to this case. The fact that he, sent some video or something, some anime video to some other girl at some point in time to just try to use all of these things against him because he's inflammatory, because he's extreme, I think is going to be character assassination. I think a judge might not let it in.
You mentioned, I think, something about extreme art regarding Marilyn Manson as one of your examples. Didn't multiple women publicly accuse him of sex abuse, physical violence, and grooming? Is that one of your great examples, Faddis?
There were such accusations. I'm not aware of whether those accusations were ever founded or whether they were ever established in court. But yeah, there have been accusations made.
Yes, Marilyn Manson, real name Brian Warner. There are multiple accusations against them. He is not convicted. He has not been charged. No criminal charges have been filed regarding claims of violence, sex assault. There was expired statutes of limitations in some of those cases. But reminder to everyone, there is no...
There's also the matter of what comes next for the family, because a criminal case doesn't end with a verdict for the people who loved her. Celeste's parents have to live with a notarized signature they gave in good faith. They have to live with a passport found in the woods. Grief like that doesn't get closure from a jury box. It just gets a little quieter, maybe, if the truth actually gets said out loud in that room. So here's where I leave you tonight, and I want you to actually answer this one in the comments. A 15-year-old girl sent a message asking someone to open the door. He answered, "I got you." Within the hour, according to prosecutors, she was dead, and within days, he was in a grocery store aisle, humming a song called Romantic Homicide like nothing had happened at all. What does a person have to become to do that? And why do we keep giving people like that the benefit of the doubt, right up until the DNA makes it impossible to look away? Tell me what you think happened behind that door, and don't look away from her name while you do it. Celeste Rivas.